She's like, Leo, that's gonna be the hardest thing you're ever gonna do.
Yeah.
And like, no, it's not, dude. 5 days in, I was sweating, I was shaking, I was so agitated. And she's like, dude, you're having pretty much drug withdrawals. And I was like, what the freak? Then
Yeah.
I realized, like, as much as we judge like alcohol, and don't get me wrong, like everything.
Alcohol's really terrible.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, and drugs and stuff like that. But like, dude, there's people who are diabetic and they don't change their diet because they're so addicted to a certain way of eating.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to another episode of the DP Podcast. This episode is very special to me because this is a friend of mine that both of us have played in a band together. And also, we went through a lot of the same issues when we were in this band together, specifically when it came to dealing with depression. We were both battling depression at the time. And in this episode, we do speak about our battle with depression, but we also talk about what it takes to be a musician and some of the things that people don't talk about, such as the fact that people actually discriminate when they come to hiring. You know, you need to fit a certain look. You know, if you're playing with a metal band, you need to have that look. If you're playing with a pop band, you got to have that look. Or an R&B band, you need to have that look. And how things aren't so easy as it comes, or as liberal-minded or open-minded as you would think. And we also talk about some of the trials and tribulations that he had to go through from having to hire people in his church and some backstabbing that went on. All of that and more on this episode. And without further ado, please enjoy this podcast with one of my good friends, Leo Vasquez. Welcome to the DP Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Pinto, and joining me today is a good friend of mine. We actually played in a band together for an artist called Fake in the Soul Aesthetic. We were the Soul Aesthetic. And he also is a music director for his church, and as well as playing with multiple independent artists. He actually, prior to COVID, was doing he had a residency, I believe, in downtown Disneyland. And it gives me a lot of pleasure to bring this very friendly and nice human being, a great bass player. His name is Leo Vasquez.
What is up, everybody? It's Leo coming at you live from, some part of Los Angeles. I don't know if you guys are listening from elsewhere, but yeah, LA. I think it's the most place everybody would recognize.
Yeah, Reseda. We'll just say that.
Reseda.
But bro, so let's just talk prior to COVID. You know, you had that downtown Disney gig. How was that? Like, you know, because before we started the podcast, we were just talking about the fact that 28,000 people are being laid off from Disneyland.
Yeah, that's not easy to. I mean, I can only imagine the people going through it. I actually have a friend that got affected by the layoffs, and he had called me, and he was like on the verge of tears. So shout out to him. I feel that it's a very hefty news for everyone to hear. It's like 28,000 people. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's not just it's across every park that they own, you know. And my girlfriend also works at Disney, so she's also, you know, being affected by this and waiting for the call because, I mean, her boss got fired, and you know, her close friends of hers were also laid off. So that's just very hard. And you know, one thing I told her, and I was telling you, was the fact that, hey, something you're going through is what plenty of people are going through 3 months into COVID, and it's just finally hitting you now. But before we get deeper into that, like, please talk about working with Disney and how you got that gig, or how you even get gigs, you know, when it comes to that sort of, you know, being a freelance musician, you as a bass player.
So I think the most important thing is, like, as much as you can be a great musician, you can be a great you can have great work ethic. I feel like having connections and knowing people, that really opens doors. I've been playing with this artist, Tanner Howe, for 5 years. I started actually with him. I've been in all the renditions of his bands, and I think this recent band we've had for 2 years now, it's like the band, you get me? Because we haven't, it's just the band, where whenever he tours and gigs, this is the band. And I'm the one that kind of picked the musicians, and it's been super awesome. So he's the one that got us the gig to play in Disney. His girlfriend works at Disney. She was like she's a cast member. She was a model. What do you call those? She was.
Oh yeah, the one who dresses up as as Cinderella
exactly.
or Jasmine.
So
my girlfriend's also a cast member.
Oh yeah, so I'm pretty sure they know each other then.
Probably.
Yeah, and then Tanner got into doing that too. He's a really handsome young fella. So he was doing all the princes princess stuff and whatnot.
Okay.
And then he all of a sudden he met like their creative director, musical auditioner person, and he's like, hey, I have a band. Can I audition? And they're like, sure. So we auditioned actually to play in Disney California Adventures for I think it's like this Mexican celebration they do in October, the Dia de los Muertos, or like a whole month of just like a Latino Hispanic thing.
Okay.
He speaks perfect Spanish. Like
Really?
it's ridiculous.
I've seen what he looks like. I would not expect that.
He is as white as they get, but he speaks perfect Spanish. Like you have no idea. He can be from Monterrey. That's how.
Oh, damn.
Yes, but
And for those listening, just from the way you said Monterrey, you can already hear that Leo is also a fellow Mexican.
yeah, guys, vamos las tortillas.
Hey.
Con los huevos y los plátanos.
Menudo.
Hey, menudo. But yeah, my mom's from Mexico. My dad's from Guates. So yeah, I was raised in the North Central American area of Latin America. So he auditioned and we didn't get the gig because it's funny because I was the only Mexican in that band because the drummer and the guitar players are from Brazil, which is still Latin America, but
Yeah.
it's not Mexican because I think they wanted Mexicans to represent. You know, Disney is all about aesthetics and looking for the part. You know, as much as people may think like that's wrong, but I understand. Like
In any gig, not
Yeah.
just talking about Disney, because if you look at, let's say, Beyonce, for example, sorry to interrupt, just to put a little side note for people, is, you know, if you look at Beyonce's background singers and background band, they are darker skin tone than her, because if they were lighter, it would take away from her being the center of the piece
Yeah.
of the stage. So as much as you hear all these very liberal, like accepting things from musicians, it ain't that way.
No.
It's just not how it rolls.
No.
There's a business. It's called music business.
yeah, and it's also performance, and you have to look the part, you have to look good, you have to do all this stuff. But I'll touch that aspect right now. But the thing is, like Dan, we auditioned again for just performing, and we got the gig. And the best part was that our first gig was in downtown Disney. It was like in the beginning of this year, like January 7th or 8th, I remember. And it's because one of the other bands couldn't make it, so they called Tanner, like, hey, dude, like, we have an opening. I know it's kind of last minute. And Tanner was like, hey, Leo, I took the opportunity before asking you guys. I was like, bro, don't worry about it. It's like, this is great. We'll make it work. So we made it work. We played downtown Disney. They loved us. And then a couple of weeks later, they're like, hey, starting in late February, we're going to have you play in Disney California Adventures from February until I think June, and then we're gonna renew the residency since then.
That's a nice resident, and that was once a week.
And it was once a week, pretty much.
That's a nice residency.
And some weeks it was twice a week. It would be like a Friday and a Sunday, or a Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was gonna be honestly the highlight of my summer. I'm not gonna lie, but due to COVID, we couldn't finish the whole thing. We only played like 2-3 gigs, and they're like, hey, COVID happened, we're shutting down Disney, everything is postponed. And what happened was that, and I don't know if I should say this, but I'm gonna say it because I feel like as much as Disney could be getting crap now, but they actually paid off like the rest of our contract.
Wow.
They I don't think they paid us in full, but they paid off, I think it's like a 7 or like a 5-week kind of like, okay, like unfortunately due to unforeseeable circumstances, we had to cut you guys off, but we'll I guess redeem half of what we were supposed to give you.
That's good business.
So I honestly, because of that, I'm like, wow, I respect Disney and their corporation more than I did before, you know, because they did try to take care of us as best as they could, and I understand it sucks, you know, they weren't ready, nobody was ready for this, but they paid me off and I got a nice check, and I was like, all right, I'm cool. Call us back. And Tanner is really happy. Hopefully, yes, once this thing's over, they'll call Tanner again and we'll start performing.
It sounds like they would want to, especially because they're trying to hold into their end of the bargain, and obviously you were holding yours, so there was no sort of, it was just circumstances put you in that place.
Yeah,
there was no bad blood whatsoever.
No, there was no bad blood. I respect Disney, Disneyland Resorts and all that. It sucks what happened with the 28,000 layoffs. But you can only keep them around for so long too. Like this COVID thing is it's just ridiculous.
Without naming your friend, do you mind talking about what he did specifically, what his job was prior to being laid off?
Yeah, so my friend, he was like an event coordinator for Disneyland. So anytime they would do, like, say, when they did the grand opening for Star Wars Land, he's the one that did all the coordination for bringing in the celebrities, getting them hotels, getting them rides, make sure they made it to Disneyland, they were there seated, make sure the grand opening was ready for people to be there, and blah, blah, blah. He was like an event coordinator pretty much. And the thing is, like, he's also a fellow PK because, you know, me and him are pastors' kids. We grew up in church. So I feel like being a PK gave him that experience of like coordinating at church and stuff like that, something I've done too. So I'm like, dude, I felt the gig fit him very well at Disneyland doing the event coordination. I think it fit him perfect, actually.
Mm-hmm. And so that's just makes it even harder to hear the fact that he got laid off. But I just wanted to mention the fact what he does, not to brag or anything, but to show that, hey, whether you're a cast member that's just working as a cashier or you have a position that has more responsibilities, like as your friend does, it's all across the board.
Yeah.
People are being laid off.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's scary. But I told him, I was like, look, dude, this happened. It sucks. And I felt him because we grew up together. Like, we both grew up. We both got Disney passes when we were like 18. He's a couple of years younger than me. So we had Disney passes. And our goals was like, dude, we want to play for Disney. We want to work for Disney. He's also a musician. Like, we want to do this and that. So he went towards like, the creative inside job of Disneyland. And I went more towards the musician side of Disneyland. And we both kind of reached our goals, but unfortunately due to COVID, we kind of had to postpone those goals now. But I still feel like, I told him, I was like, dude, even though you got laid off, I feel like Disney will call you back once everything's okay. Like, cause you're a great person to work with. He's such a sweetheart. So I'm pretty sure as much as he got laid off, they'll come looking for him once they can get him back for sure.
Right. It's just like for a man, like, and one of the biggest things that keeps Disney alive, and even, something that help Walt Disney have everything is Imagineers, the people who build the attractions. Imagineers is mixing imagination with technology and bringing it to life. I mean, that's probably a very watered down version of explaining it, but right. There's plenty of Imagineers that are going to be laid off too.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we're going to need these guys eventually because there's plenty of parts just in Disney World that have not even been touched.
And like, let's be honest, competition, dude, is real. So maybe Disney won't get him back, but maybe DreamWorks might hitting him up or something like that.
With a better paycheck.
Universal,
yeah.
So let's be honest.
Might need another Harry Potter.
It's competition right now. Like, it's really, you got fired. I'm sorry, but there's competition. If somebody like fired their best coordinator, like, I know somebody else is gonna want to pick him up right away. They're gonna be like, okay, well, this kid just got fired, but he did the grand opening for Star Wars Land, blah 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 blah. Universal's
it's like, a good resume.
Yeah, or Universal would be like, well, hey, dude, we can offer you this and this and that, and blah blah blah. And honestly, as much as I like being loyal to certain products and companies, because I am endorsed too, but when there's a paycheck and when there's like better benefits, I'm not gonna lie. I'll be like, okay, you have my attention. Like, let's talk business, and that's business.
As long as the product's better, or
yeah,
no,
exactly. Yeah, nobody ever is going to downgrade. I'm sorry. Like, there's this saying in church, like, you go from faith to faith, glory by glory, meaning you just have to get better. I'm not going to take a step back, I'm not going to go from one certain place and get things or go to a lower aspect. Like, my goal is to always get better.
Elevate.
Exactly. I think that's the best way to put it. So, yeah, for sure.
So there were two things that you kind of brought up or kind of touched on. One was that you were a pastor's child. And then, and before that, which I wanted to get into, is the fact, the whole image and the look when it comes to getting gigs. And you said you wanted to kind of touch on that. So what were your thoughts on that? Because, I mean, that is such a huge thing, because my look would not work for, like, let's say, like a progressive metal band or something, and it's like, hey, maybe you can play the music, maybe you can play it just as well as the next guy, but you don't have that look when you're on stage. Those other metalheads, or if you're a jazz guy or whatever it may be, won't see, like, but as much as we like to say that we don't judge, our eyes judge before we even meet you.
Yeah, exactly. No, let's be honest. When I'll use this analogy. As much as you want to fall in love with somebody, the first thing you look is at their first impression. It's like, oh, is she cute? Is she pretty? Is he pretty? Is she cute? So yeah, I feel the eyes tend to do all the judging before even our brain does it. So yeah, aesthetics is so important in the music business and even in acting. Just look at the arts. You get me? So I grew up playing gospel. I grew up playing a lot of funk and pop tunes and stuff like that. And I love emo music and I love metal and stuff like that too. But I've auditioned for a couple of emo bands and they love me. But the first thing they tell me is like, look, Leo, you're an amazing person, but you just don't look like the role, because I don't have tats. I don't wear like dark makeup. I wear kind of like skaterish aesthetics, you get me? But I'm more like a pretty boy, Hollister-ish looking aesthetic person that wears skinny jeans.
Like you could everything you're talking about, you can pass for the gospel or the pop or the funk. Like, your look can fit all three of those easy, no problem.
Yeah, for sure.
But
then you could do like in the metal scene. Yeah, I won't, as much as I love new age metal like Linkin Park, System of a Down, Korn, and all that stuff. I don't fit that aspect. I don't. I feel like even me, my demeanor, I will be smiling on these gigs when everybody's like frowning and just being like very serious and be like, hey guys, smiling over here. Like, why is everybody
He's not
so
wrong.
sad? Right? Like, why is everybody so sad? Like, let's smile.
But there's only one, sorry to interrupt, but there's just one musician that I can think of off the top of my head that is in the rock or metal world that always had a smile when he played, and that's Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, for sure.
That's the only dude I can think of that always had a smile on his head, on his face, and you could be like, yeah, it's Eddie.
For sure. And the thing about Eddie is like, dude, he was so like his sound was so iconic that he can do whatever the hell he wanted, but you're just like, dude, play that
And
guitar.
he's ripping it.
Yeah, play me that guitar lick again. Blah blah blah. No, and it's right. And the thing about Disney is like, they always want to. So the thing is like when Tanner auditioned, I'll use that for an example for this Mexican event. It was like a Mexican holiday kind of thing. We sounded great. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all the bands I heard audition, like we were probably the best bands. Because honestly,
I believe it.
And the reason why, and I'll tell you, was because we don't play music as hobbies. Like this is our professional job. Like we make money off of this, so we take it.
So most of the guys were weekend warriors.
From the other people that audition, pretty much, yeah.
From you watching them play, because
Yeah.
I know like, hey, you have a certain skill set. You can see who's an amateur and who isn't. Or did you also speak with them?
Now, I was talking to them. They seem like great people, but like they have a 9-to-5 job elsewhere, which I understand. Like it's okay, but at least sound wise, I know we were the best sounding band because the musicians I picked are really good musicians and they tour, they do this for a living and blah, blah, blah. And they know what it is to audition. They know what it is to be professional. They know what it is to sound good, to be happy, blah, blah, blah. So we sounded good. We even looked good. But yeah, I was the only Mexican. You get me? And that's the thing. And they wanted to make this event to attract more, I guess, the Latino, Hispanic heritage people.
And they had the movie Coco come out.
And Coco.
So it's like, hey, there's a reason to the madness.
And the event was kind of like, even though it was like 2 years after Coco was released, they're like, hey, it was like revolved around the whole Coco aesthetics. Like it was like Day of the Dead, like celebrating Mexican family heritage and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel like Tanner, he speaks perfect Spanish, and he did missionary work in Mexico, and I think it was Monterrey.
But nobody knows that. They just see a white kid.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, they spoke to him in Spanish because they're like, okay, you're auditioning for a Hispanic. Yeah, they see a white boy. I'm telling you, he's the whitest as they get. Like, he is the whitest pretty boy you'll find. Like, he's a good kid. He's a great kid at heart.
He sounds good. Yeah, I saw some of your videos that you had posted of you guys playing in downtown Disney.
Yeah, and he's such a cool kid. But the thing is, like, okay, well, do you speak Spanish? Like, I speak perfect Spanish. Well, he didn't say that. And they're like, okay, let's talk in Spanish. And the lady was impressed. Like, wow, this kid can speak perfect Spanish. But I know we didn't get the gig because we weren't the most Mexican looking band, because everybody else was like East LA, Chicano. They spoke like this fool, hey, what's up, man? Like they had that Mexican kind of like, the Chicano accent, it's not just Mexican, but the Chicano accent. And I'm like, well, I already knew. I was like, well, they're gonna get the gig.
Like you knew, like once they were done with the audition, they were gonna go fix cars or something.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna go back to like fix cars or stuff like that. And not to sound like mean, but no, like it's a funny thing. Yeah, like we're Latino, like we find things to do around the house no matter what. Like
always,
my dad can come home from his business. My dad's a contracting business. He gets home and it's like 12 at night, and he's like, hey, let me sweep the patio. And I'm like, dude, it's late. Go to sleep. Like you're too
somebody's got
to
do it.
Yeah, and he's like, well, somebody has to do it. I was like, dude, we did it. Like, and it's just so freaking hilarious. But yes, your part, the way you look, you're like, let's be honest, like everybody in Hollywood looks good. Like I travel a lot. I do a lot of gigs all over LA, all over the States, all over the country, all over the world. And LA is probably the most beautiful looking people next to Miami. But because everybody in LA, they're like a waiter, but they're trying to be an actress. They're trying to be a model. They're trying to be a musician, blah, blah, blah. So they have to look good for the part. Because in LA, you'll get a call. It's like, hey, can you audition tomorrow for this gig? And you don't have or can you audition tomorrow for this movie scene? And you can't just be like, oh, well, I got to lose 30 pounds. Like, no, you got to look fit, ready to go for whatever audition that comes your way. And same musically. Like, you can't just be like, oh, whenever I get the audition, I'll prepare. It's like, no, you have to be ready to audition for that gig. You have to look the part, play the songs, look good, dress good, or at least act like you want to play the part and blah blah blah. So I think it's a big demanding thing that people don't see. They think, oh, they naturally look good. It's like, no, nobody naturally has a six pack. Like it's so hard to get that. It's so hard to look fit. It's hard to look good. It's so hard to do all these things. And
it's just constantly doing crunches and eating almonds.
And dude, I remember when I was in high school, I was joking with my friend. She was a young actress, and I was like, dude, when's your next gig or when's your next TV show? She's like, oh, we're gonna start filming next week. I'm like, oh, so what's your diet? A leaf and a bottle of water? And I was laughing, and she's like, no, that's pretty much what I'm eating. It's like grass and bottle of water. I was like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah, and I mean, even when you look at someone like Hugh Jackman or like these Marvel heroes, it's like a lot of them are taking steroids to be that fit, and nobody's like pointing that out or talking about it. It's like, yeah, you think it's just like just like
Good
colored,
jeans?
yeah, good
Good
jeans.
jeans?
Like yeah,
Nah,
Chris
man.
Pratt went from like a big fat dude to like shredded dude. Nah, dude, they're all taking steroids. That's why Hugh Jackman stopped being Wolverine because it was destroying his body.
Yeah, and also like they have professional people that help them do all these things that could be somewhat dangerous or are dangerous. At least they have professionals looking after them. Yeah, dude, like Hugh Jackman, like when you hit a certain age, like even Arnold Schwarzenegger, even Sylvester Stallone, like you can't look that good. You can't look that good being 60, 70 years old. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
have to do something, a substance.
Like you look at the Expendables, and I'm like, yo, I'm ready for any of them to croak.
They're like, oh.
Like after a punch, I'm seeing their body just deflate.
Dude, it's just so yeah, and like and power to them, dude. Like I remember what was that show with Hulk Hogan? When they were in Miami and VH1.
Oh yeah, the one that like it was his life and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
right?
Like I'll see
Yeah.
this guy pump iron. I'm like, dude, you're like, this is not all natural. Like you need to be taking some kind of substance or something's going on with your body, dude. Or you're just like from the god
Bro,
gene.
it's a Hulk Hogan, bro. That's
Yeah.
the one. You maybe not. Man.
think so? 'Cause-
no, he's taking. They all juice up before the show.
And the thing is, like, even The Rock, like, I admire, like, The Rock's workout ethic because that guy is beast. But there's going to be a point where he's going to have to get some kind of, like, steroids or some kind of substance to stay
or
at that
like
beef.
intravenous, like B12, just to have energy.
Yep. Because I'm telling you, man, I'm 28. I already had 2 knee surgeries, and I'm performing in, like, you know, a weekend to tour. I'm just like, woof. I'm just like, okay, I need a day just to, like, sit and just drink some water and hydrate.
And chill.
And I don't not saying I'm against this, but I don't take any substance. I don't do drugs. I don't drink or anything like that. So I'm just like, my body, you get what you get. You know, I don't get high to perform. I don't get drunk to perform. And people do that sometimes because they need that, I guess, that substance to stay on stage for so long, for so many days.
Which
out of the
isn't
month.
right
Yeah.
for me because I've had teachers, because Leo is actually a teacher's assistant at Musicians Institute, and
Am I, baby?
MI. And one of the teachers there told me, like, hey, look, on the final lesson, he said, hey, look, guys, always do it for the music. I've seen so many guys who can't go on stage unless they get that hit of marijuana
Yep.
or
And
that
it's true.
one sip of a shot of whatever they drink before going on stage. Like, they can't perform. And it's like, it's about the music. Don't ever become that. And I've seen, as I'm sure you have seen people who their lives are destroyed from these substances or just because they can't. It's a destructive lifestyle if you let it.
Yeah, and it's scary because a lot of our role models have done this for so many years. You know, they before they go up on stage, they take some coke, they smoke, they inject, they drink, and you're like, bro, I want to do the exact same thing. And then, you know, just bringing this line, which, like I said, like, that's your business, that's what you do. But imagine you're gonna be doing this for a whole year. So you're gonna be doing all this stuff every time before you perform for a whole year. Like, it's gonna catch up. Like, all these things catch up eventually. And then I seen some really good musicians, great friends of mine, that after like touring for 1 month with somebody, like, dude, they're just addicted to something. And I'm just like, dude, like, you're doing just fine, man. Like, I understand you can, what's recreationally cool, whatever, you know, quote unquote, but like, I just seen them destroy. I've seen it destroy more lives than help. You know, I don't know if that even makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, like, I don't care. Like, that's your business, but this is why I always try to stay fit, because when I perform, I'm using my body. You know, it's like a workout. Like, you know, I work out so I can perform on stage. It's like soccer. You know, you train. So when the game comes, you're ready to play 90 minutes. Same on stage. Like, I work out. I take care of myself. I used to be 300 pounds. I used to be a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm pretty fit. I'm pretty lenient. You know, I keep up. But dude, like I said, a week of touring, like, I'm already somewhat exhausted, dude, and scary.
Yeah, and like right now you have a gig where you're touring a lot when it comes to you're the musical director for a church.
Yeah.
But before we even get into that, I wanted to ask you, like, how did because you have your look now, but how did you develop that look for gigs and stuff? When was the point where you're like, okay, I need to start looking a certain type of way? Because were you doing gigs and being like, I'm not getting gigs, but they say I'm a good player and I don't know why. And it's like, well, maybe my look, like, maybe I look nerdy, or maybe I look a certain type of way, or I just need to clean up. It could just be something as simple as that.
So I think what helped me get more gigs now is my beard. I think my beard is so iconic right now to me, because everybody.
I think it does.
Yeah, right.
I can't see you without it now.
Yeah, so I think my beard is the most iconic thing about me now, because I show people other pictures or videos of me, and they're like, oh, yeah, and like, you're just missing the beard. And then you see videos of me performing recently with a beard, they're like, what? And I look at myself like, damn, I look pretty badass. Like, all right. So I feel like the beard really made me more attracted to, like, oh, I want that guy to play my band. I want that guy to play
It was
my
a
band.
distinguishing factor.
Yeah,
it's like having a pink bass or something, like something different.
Exactly. So I feel like that got me so much more gigs. If I was, like, say, getting auditions like once or twice a month, I was getting auditions like 8, 10 times a month. And there's some auditions where I was like, hey, as much as I would love to, I can't because I'm already booked for this whole week, this whole month, this whole like 3 months, tri-month, stuff like that. But I feel like the beard, that came way after. Growing up in church kind of like made me just dress kind of very churchy, like suit, tie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think high school, puberty hit, I lost weight, I started looking good. Or at least to myself, I was like fitter, prettier, and I was like, hey, I want to flirt. I want to hang out with girls. So I kind of took up the whole aspect because I grew up listening to a lot of emo music, emo rock. People don't know that. People think like, wow, Leo, he plays gospel, he plays in church.
Especially because you were a pastor's child,
Yeah.
so they're thinking you're not listening to any like non-secular music or anything
dude.
like that.
Secular music was where I was at because I was so tired of listening to just like the same Christian alabanzas. Like,
Yeah,
like,
because you're a musician, and
Yeah.
for those listening, I feel like it's difficult for some people to understand, like, because I feel most people, they have their 5 or 6 bands or songs, and that's just what they listen to for the rest of their life. And for a musician, it's like, no, it's like eating the same meal every day. We
Oh,
want to have
I get
variety. It's like,
tired of it.
I want to have salmon today. Let me have like
Yeah.
some chicken pesto, or let me get like fajitas instead.
it's-
You want a different variety. You want to taste every flavor. And I was just gonna to finish. It's just like people ask me, "Oh, what's your favorite? What's the thing you want to listen to right now, or what are you listening to right now?" It's like, man, I want to listen to something I haven't heard yet, because that's what's gonna inspire me or get me going. Because the songs I was listening to a month ago, it's not what I'm listening to now.
No, and the thing is, like, I'm the type of person. Maybe you can agree, Daniel, is that I would get tired of listening to the same thing over and over, and I'm just like, dude, this is boring. And as much as I love like Green Day, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Angels and Airwaves, Blink-182, growing up in high school, or in, like high school,
System of a Down,
System
so
of
on.
a Down, all that stuff. I was just like, man, I need to eat something new. Like I love these bands, but I need something new. I need to experiment and blah blah blah. And that's when I got more into like funk. I got more into
Stevie Wonder.
James Brown, Lettuce, all those. Tower
Oh yeah,
Power.
Lettuce.
I
Some more jam bands.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Lettuce is a more recent band.
Yeah. It was recent, but I was 18, 17. So to
Yeah,
me,
so it's like
it was
yeah.
brand new to me. You get me? So I was like, yeah, I was hungry for this. But I feel like my aesthetic still, the way I dress still right now, it's very like skinny jeans, tees, cap. I wear more boots now than before. I would just wear like Vans and Converse in high school.
The
and
Mexican in you.
Yeah, right. And I really want some cowboy boots or some like Mexican boots.
You can get some in Mexico, bro.
Yeah.
Like cheap and good.
I have uncles in Tijuana, and I'm like, bro, next time you come visit, bring me some boots. And they're like, oh, I forgot. It's like, nah, dude, like, give me the best boots, bro. And I'll Venmo you. I was like, I'll pay you to bring them, and I'll pay the boots and stuff like that.
If you just pay them American price, that's already enough.
Yeah, I can buy them at Tagarita, bro, at the border for like $10. You just bargain my way to $10.
There you go, man.
It's like $200. Like, nah, man. It's like, okay.
It's like, that's not even real alligator, bro.
Yeah, it's like, come on, bro. Like, you probably hit the dog, and you just like felt bad. You just made the boots out of the dog's
It's like I
skin.
can still smell it barking or
Yeah.
hear it barking.
I can still hear it barking. But yeah, like I feel like all the music I listen to really inspire the way I dress, and I feel like even seeing a lot of my favorite musicians now, I'm like, I see the influence they had in my life and the way they dress and stuff like
Unconsciously,
that.
but
yeah,
now,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Back then, when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, I love this outfit, I love a T-shirt, I love this, and you just wear it and buy it. But now that you're older, you kind of tend to process things better. You're just like, oh, that makes sense why I bought that shirt. That makes sense why
Right.
I bought this suit. And yeah, so I feel like that's what kind of helped me dress the way I am today. But like I said, I'm such a hybrid of high school and college music, because college music for me was more dude, college I was everywhere, dude, because college was the last time I was playing professional soccer before I tore my knee, and I went back to music. So
And you went to college for soccer?
yeah, I was
For you got a scholarship through soccer?
so what happened was I was going to a community college, and from there, a university found me like, hey, dude, finish your GEs, and we'll just give you a scholarship to finish the rest of your whatever you want to do just to play soccer for our college, university. And I was like, cool. Tore my knee, and then just that went out the window. They're
What
like,
college, if you don't mind me asking?
It was UCLA.
UCLA. Hey,
Yeah.
that's a good soccer team too.
That was UCLA.
Wow.
Mhm.
Damn, bro.
They scouted me. We were negotiating and stuff like that. And at that time, I was between LA Galaxy and Chivas USA. Chivas USA.
Oh, Chivas.
Yeah, Chivas USA. They don't exist anymore, but LAFC is like Chivas 2.0. They make fun of them. But yeah, I was between them two, playing with them two. And a lot of people don't know about that because I really don't talk much about my soccer run.
I mean, I know you play soccer.
love soccer,
and
bro.
and like even like I would see pictures of you playing and stuff, but I didn't know it was this deep.
Oh no, it was serious. Like I wanted to play professional soccer. That's why I went from being a 300 fat boy to like 160 pounds of just muscle and just like a machine. And
Yeah,
I
you
think,
just run for days.
yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why my knee just gave up, because I was a fat boy. I was 300 pounds, and my knees were like
Years
dude,
of
just friction and all that. Then I lost all the weight, but then I was doing weights to get muscle, and then my knee just like one day in a regular skirmish practice session, we're doing something, and just my knee buckled, and then the doctor was like, "Dude, you're done." It's like for the season, it's like, nah. It's like I don't think you're gonna play anymore, because the way your meniscus, the way what happened was my left knee, my inner and outer meniscus got torn, which is kind of a rare case. And then the inner part of the knee, because the meniscus is the cartilage that kind of helps the grinding, the inner part of my knee, the bones are already grinding. So if I would continue playing, like I would be like my knees were being sanded. So even now, people don't know this, but when I walk, I feel like my right leg is a little tad bit longer than my left leg.
Because of the amount of cartilage that you've lost.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people don't know this. And trust me, it's so hard to notice, but I notice it when I'm walking.
Well, you're the one feeling it.
Yeah.
You feel every step. Yeah.
And I still play soccer now, and it's not I don't play professionally. I play recreationally. I play in a league here and there. But I notice that when I'm running, I'm like, okay, I can feel the different balance. But I've dealt with it. I think I'm okay. Mm-hmm. It's not much of a freak of a nature thing. It's okay. But I notice it.
So during that time, was music even in your thoughts? Because you said earlier you were growing up as a pastor's child. So when did bass become a part of your life? I'm assuming before or after soccer.
Yeah, so bass. So I started playing music since I was a kid, because my dad always wanted like his children to be in some kind of arts. Because my dad he lived in Guatemala. It's very typical American story, like American dream story. Guatemala, came to the U.S. Found some kind of job, became successful, and then he told us, like, I don't want your kids to go through the same things I went through, so I want you guys to do something. Like, my dad wanted to be a professional soccer player. He was a professional, but due to X reasons, he couldn't continue doing that because he wasn't getting paid well. So he came to the States, found his contracting business, and then the rest is history. But he's like, hey, Leo, my brother, my sister's like, hey, I want you guys to do something with your lives. And everybody started off music, but I was the only one that stayed in it. So at 5 years of age, I started playing accordion.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So I played accordion for like 2-3 years, and then we started going to church. And then I saw the drums. Yeah, the accordion. I don't remember much, but if you give me an accordion, I'll probably remember, because it was a straight out awesome. So, the reason why I started playing drums was because, number one, I saw the drums at church, and also because I noticed the drummers were getting all the girls, and I was like, 8, 9, 10. I was like, I want the girls. I was starting to like certain girls at church, so I started playing drums. And little did I know, drums kind of like opened the world of music, and I was like, I love music. Like, this is the thing. Also, growing up in church, like, we didn't go to like churches then were not how churches are now. Like, I feel like churches now are so much more accepting and more loving, and they're okay with certain things. At least certain churches, because I do feel the church scene in a lot of, especially Latino Hispanic churches, they're so behind in the way of thinking. But that church was very conservative. They were very legalistic, very you can't,
by the book.
Yeah, like, you can't dress like this, you can't say this, you can't do this. Pokemon's from the devil, Disney's from the devil, Yu-Gi-Oh's from the devil.
And how old were you when you were being told all this? Just growing up?
Yeah, I was literally a kid. Like, I was 9, 10.
So you didn't question any of it? You were like, this is what the adults say?
No, I questioned it. I questioned everything. I used to be the kid that used to get in trouble because I would disagree with a lot.
That's how you know you were a musician.
Yeah, because they'd be like, oh, you can't watch Pokemon. I'm like, why is it bad? It's like, oh, because they told us. Like, oh, they? Who's they? It's like, oh, the pastor's like, so how do they know? God told them? It's like, no, they just have a feeling. I was like, what do you mean they have a feeling? It's like, what do you, like, I would just start fighting with, and I was 9 years old. And every time
you were seeing the holes in the.
Yeah, and every time, and don't get me wrong, I'm going to clarify this. I love, my belief, my faith, what is Christianity. I love God, I love Jesus, all that stuff. And I love the church I serve in my parents' church, because they're pastors. But I know there's a lot of holes in all that stuff. And there's a lot of things that I don't like being told something if you can't explain it to me well. Don't tell me, oh, don't do this because I was taught that. It's like, well, why were you taught that? I especially me, when I have to do leadership classes, I tend to always break everything down so people can see the big picture. If they choose to believe else thing, then that's them. At least I feel like I did the best job to explaining what my part of the leadership class
your reasoning was. And everything.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I would always fight. And then every Sunday after Sunday class, they'll come to my parents like, oh, your son, Leo, he was talking back and blah, blah, blah. And my dad was like, why are you talking back? I was like, because this lady's stupid. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
You would say that?
I would say that. I would say it just like that. So there was a moment where like half of the people loved me as a kid, because I would, as kids, because we were all like, why can't we watch cartoons? We're 9 years old. That's all we want to do. Like, you're going to deplete our childhood because you don't like the fact that Nickelodeon does this or Halloween and all this crap. So yeah, I would half the people love me, half the people hated me. And I still think like the church right now, the world, like people, like my parents are pretty big in the church world. So half of
Really?
the people that my parents work with love me, and half the people hate me because I'm playing at Disneyland. I work with Disney. I done things for Disney Channel. I've done things for Nickelodeon. I've done things with secular artists, and and I still play. I tour with big Christian bands too, and Christian churches and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like I was saying earlier, you're a music director for one.
Yeah, and I'm music director for my church. I direct for other big artists, which I can't name. I would love to name drop, but I signed a disclosure, so I can't drop names
all good.
like that. But it's pretty big. Like if you follow me on Instagram, you will know who these people could be.
If you want to plug your Instagram real quick.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle, I just changed it. It's leo.films. So it's leo.dot films, FILMS, because recently I just become so obsessed with filming, and I've been filming a lot of projects with people and I've been getting paid. So I was like, you know what? This is a great way to tie music and filming as my, like, I guess my business. So yeah, so follow me on Instagram, guys. And follow me on YouTube too as well. It's just my name, Leo Vasquez. The YouTube channel is
Want
really
to spell
cool.
your last name for them?
Yeah, Vasquez is VASQUEZ. My first name is Leo.
Dope. And he has a lot of vlogs on there talking about mental health, gigs, everything and anything that goes on in his life.
Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff, a lot of things that I'm sorry to say this, that the church doesn't want to talk about, which is mental health. I have a Spooky Scary Time series, which is about like spooky, funny things I talk about.
And it is October.
It is Halloween season, spooky season. So yeah, anyways, we were talking about church. Point being was that, what was the question?
Basically, you put your feet wherever you can when it comes musically, and how you would question everybody.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things was like you can't listen to secular music, which is music that's not church driven or just not, it doesn't have to name God or they don't use God, which don't get me wrong. I grew up listening to a lot of good Christian music, which to this day I'm like, wow, I see that bass influence, that drum influence in my life. You get me?
Kurt Franklin, Fred Hammond.
Kurt Franklin, Fred Hammond, Israel Houghton, Ezra and the New Breed,
Yeah.
Marvin Sapp, Keenan Peele, not Keenan Peele, Keen E. Peele. It's not Keenan and Peele, but gospel people.
Yeah.
If you listen to gospel, you know what I'm talking about. So I grew up listening to all of that. Hillsong United, Hillsong,
Ty Tribbett.
all the Ty Tribbett. This came out more in my teen years, but I love all that stuff. But there's one thing that I love, the badass factor that, emo rock bands had, that System of a Down had.
That energy.
That Linkin Park. Like Linkin Park was the ish for me in 2000.
That first album.
That Hybrid Theory is what it's called. The Chaos Theory. Hybrid Theory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that album was just like, damn, my brother's
One
like,
step closer.
Yeah. My brother is like, hey, because the thing is like, us listening to secular music was like getting high, like we had to do behind our parents' back, it's like dealing drugs. My brother's like, hey, I got you something. I'm like,
Yo, I got
what?
this new album, bro.
Yeah. My brother's like, hey, I got that Linkin Park album. I was like, what? Like, let's listen to it. So we put it in our Walkmans, and then my mom walked in, like, what are you guys listening to? Like, oh, church music. And I was like, okay, and walk away. But we'll be listening to that Linkin Park. I remember I got Toxicity, the album, when it came out.
Oh, really?
Dude, I would go to sleep with that album in. Like, dude, like, I didn't have that privilege growing up where I would listen to whatever I wanted. I had to like go and like not steal, but like make trades with my friends. Like, hey, give me this album and I'll give you this. Like, hey, I'll buy you lunch if you burn. If you burn me this album, blah blah blah. Like, I would literally be slinging secular music in my house for a while because my parents were so against it because the church told them to, and I was just like, this is dumb. Like, I need to grow as a person. Like, I just can't listen to church music, which I'm not against, but I have to know that there's something out there too. There's something better, bigger and better than just church music.
So, what were you playing at this time then? Because now you're listening to the cool stuff, or not cool stuff, but like what's hip to your generation of kids.
So at that time, I was still playing drums. Don't get me wrong, I still play drums now, and people don't know this. I've been playing drums since I was 9 years old. I went to school, conservatories, I graduated and all that stuff. I picked up bass like a couple of years after, and the same thing with bass. I went to school, I studied abroad. I went to Guatemala, Mexico, studied music there. And then after that, I came back to the U.S., and then I just started touring with really big church bands and mega churches, because my dad, he like I said, they're very well-known pastors in the U.S., and then that's when I started touring. And then there was a moment where I'm just like, hey, I want to get better. So I started going to schools, academies, and then that's how I ended up at MI too. And then because of MI, that's when the whole secular scene opened up to me, where I was starting to tour with people like Tanner, Foolish Deep, and all these other people, because they're like, hey, we need a bass player. And I'm like, cool, I'll play bass. Like, yeah, I'm free.
And you're in the scene, you're in the thick of it, and
Yeah.
you're with all these like-minded people.
Yeah, exactly. So I loved it. And then once I started playing in this secular scene, like a lot of church gigs I was doing, like they're like, hey, we don't want to work with you anymore. And I kind of was bummed. I was like, why? It's like, because I'm playing with this artist. Like, what does it have to do with my faith, my example? Like, if anything, the way I walk, the way I speak, the way I am has given a better testimony for you to be like, well, this kid is cool then because I'm playing with a secular artist. I think that's the most stupidest way to judge somebody or even like make a decision, you know, because.
But it goes back to what we were saying, though, when it comes to people judge with their eyes and stuff. It's like, hey, we need, if we're looking for a Mexican band, we're also, for Christians, we're looking for people who are squeaky clean, you know, because something I noticed when I was playing in a church was one thing the pastor would say is, hey, make sure you clean up your social media, you know, because it's like, if he's preaching these words of God and anything like that looks bad. Or I remember I have a friend who was also a pastor's child, and her father would only drink water outside because he was scared that if he drank orange juice outside, somebody would say, oh, it's a vodka orange juice or something.
That's messed up, yeah. And it's true. Like, unfortunately, as much as we tell everybody, come to church, we don't judge you. Like, bro, church people are the first people that judge.
Oh, hell yeah.
Everybody. And they judge people within the church. Like, oh, look at this person. Look at that person. And
They're not as holy as I.
Yeah, and I remember one day a pastor told me, he's like, dude, if you're using the Bible to hurt people, you're doing it wrong. And I'm just like, damn, that hit me so hard. I was like, that kind of made me like, okay, I want to do this as a living. I want to be a touring musician, if it's church music or not church music, not because I support everything, but because like I feel like this is a talent I have, and I feel like everybody, like you know, what if Bruno Mars just only played one album and was like, you know what, I'm done because everybody else didn't accept it. It's like, I think that's dumb, you know. What if who's like
and his sound has changed so much.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm trying to think of this like really big church musician that plays like they tour, but I'm trying to remember. But once it comes to my mind, I'll use that as an example. But yeah, it's like I just can't stay stuck in one place. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna tour. And I'm going to be the example that I am in church wherever I go. Just because they're doing drugs and they're smoking doesn't mean I have to do that, you know? Just because they're drinking, I don't have to do that. And I've always been like that. If you guys see me tour, I'm always sober. I drink wine here and there. I drink a little bit, but I've never been drunk in my life ever. And I'm 28, and I know I've never been drunk. I only got high once. No, twice. Once was with you.
I was like,
we were rehearsing. I remember, and you had like some like creamer, was it? You remember?
Yeah, it was a creamer.
It was
That's
a creamer,
right.
and I think I was like tired, dude. And then Daniel was like, "Hey, do you want some of this creamer?" I'm like, "It has THC," and I was like, "Sure, whatever." And I just took like a little bit, thinking it was okay, dude. 40 minutes
Yo, he
in,
was
man,
cruising. It was
dude. We should have taken videos of that, man.
I wish, man.
Dude.
Yo, Leo was just leaned back on it, like playing bass, like, yo, I got this.
Bro,
but we were all playing. We all played our parts.
We did our parts, dude. And then I remember Trey was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine, bro."
Yo,
I remember,
he's like, I'm better than fine.
I was like, "I'm fine, dude. I'm fine." But I remember, and the second time was with Casper, which is he's one of the main faces of Foolish Deep, which is the band I play with. And
Foolish Sheep.
Foolish Deep, yeah, that's another band.
Foolish Deep, sorry.
Yeah, check us out too.
And you guys just released an album, right?
Yeah, we just released an EP. We just finished at the time of recording this podcast. We just finished finished filming our music video, which hopefully in a couple of weeks, maybe like in a month, it should be ready to premiere. It just depends. So check us out, Foolish Deep. That's the handle at Foolish Deep, and Instagram. Check us out; it's really cool. But and then my band's Foolish Deep. Check us out.
It's a trio, right?
It's a whole band, but me and Casper are like the faces right now of the band. Mm-hmm. So we run everything. So yeah, it's pretty much yeah. It's a really cool thing. But point being was that
please check it out, guys.
Yeah, check it out. Honestly, I think you'll like it. It's very like alternative 80s modern music, and I think that's like where I feel like people are bringing a lot of the old stuff to the new and making it like very like newish.
Yeah, look at Bruno Mars, as we were talking about, 24 Karat Magic.
Yep, super.
Listen to Finesse, and then listen to Remember the Time by Michael Jackson.
And the thing about even Bruno Mars, he took like that George Clinton vibe, which I think is one of I think he's like the godfather of modern like dirty funk, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the Funkadelic.
Yeah, the Funkadelics and stuff like that, and I think Bruno Mars kind of took it and made it prettier, because George Clinton was not the most aesthetically looking pretty person either. He looks like what funk smells like. I'm not gonna lie.
Yo, Mikey, no, you're not wrong.
You look
at
George Clinton, you're just like, oh, he looks like the smell of funk. But George Clinton is a pioneer. Point being was that Casper, he's like, hey, let's go home, because we just finished rehearsing for a gig we're gonna do. And I was like, dude, I'm tired. He's like, you want to have an edible, eat it when you get home. And it was like a 40-minute drive from Hollywood to where I live at, because he ended up moving really close to where I live. So I was like, all right. But what I did, I just took the edible, popped it in my mouth. I'm like, all right, let's go. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go to my girlfriend's she's at a party. Let's go pick her up and blah blah blah. Okay, dude. So he's like, you know what? Let's get down for a bit. So we got down. It was a Christmas party, I remember. And right when I sat on the couch, I knew everybody there. I just knocked out for 20 minutes.
Oh.
And then I woke up with like now I know what the munchies are, dude. Because I woke up and I was like, I'm hungry, dude. And it was a Christmas party, dude. So
like cookies.
There was cookies,
Yo,
there was dessert,
yes.
gingerbread, there was like eggnog, there was like beer, there was wine, there was
Never
everything.
tasted so good.
Dude, I was just like, oh no, I'm just putting I looked like something out of a cartoon, like a 90s like Nickelodeon cartoon, just putting everything in my mouth. And Casper's like, are you okay? And I'm like, nah, bro, I'm hungry. I was just eating everything. And then the thing is, like, after that, I still went home, got myself like two double doubles,
Nice.
2 animal style
Yo,
fries,
yes.
like 2 large Cokes. I ate everything, knocked out, woke up the next day, and I was like, damn.
You're like, I did
Damn.
that.
It's like, damn.
You learned something about yourself.
no,
you learned something.
I was like, damn, I can keep up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that was the last time I've gotten high. Like, I think that's what the definition of munchies and highs is. But I was safe. I feel like I was good. You know, it's a good
Yeah,
experience.
and it's not a drug where alcohol where you can become violent or something like that.
I was chilling, dude. And even Casper was like, man, you were so chill. You're more chill than what you were. I was like, damn, that's hard to believe,
yeah,
dude.
Yeah, exactly. You were, man.
Yeah.
For real. You become the most leanest cat,
Yeah,
man.
dude, it was so
you have
chill.
your own center of gravity when you're doing it,
Yeah,
man.
so, hey, man. Yeah, so if
But,
that ever happens again, then we'll record it. But I don't know, man.
But I mean, the thing is, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you're comfortable, and it's calling you. You know what I mean? It's like, hey,
I didn't feel
I'm
forced.
accepting.
I never felt forced. I wanted to do it. You get me?
Yeah.
And as much as maybe a lot of church people was like, wow, he got high. I was like, man, shut up, guys. Like, you know, like people take like drugs and alcohol as the worst things ever, but then you're drinking a Coke every day. You know, like I feel like certain things you put in your body just because they're not alcohol and drugs, they can be just as bad as certain alcohol and certain drugs. Like sugar is
I completely agree.
It's such a thing. Like
it's just as addictive as Coke.
I did a sugar detox before I started MI because I was gaining some weight and I was like, dude, I gotta, you know, get lenient again and blah blah blah. And then I went to my trainer and she's like, dude, let's do a sugar detox. Like, okay, it'll be easy. She's like, Leo, that's gonna be the hardest thing you're ever gonna do.
Yeah.
And like, no, it's not, dude. 5 days in, I was sweating, I was shaking, I was so agitated. And she's like, dude, you're having pretty much drug withdrawals. And I was like, what the freak? Then
Yeah.
I realized like, as much as we judge like alcohol, and don't get me wrong, like everything.
Alcohol's really terrible.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, and drugs and stuff like that. But like, dude, there's people who are diabetic and they don't change their diet because they're so addicted to a certain way of eating. And I'm like, that's just as destructive as me drinking alcohol, as me as doing, you know, drugs or stuff like that.
Well, the thing is, sugar is hitting those reactors. You know, that dopamine, like, oh man, I'm getting that rush. You know, or it could be just as easily video games. And the thing is, we are very addictive creatures.
Yep.
You know, so. You know, to me, when someone says, "Oh, is marijuana addicting?" I'm like, it's just as addicting as a cheeseburger.
Yeah, no, you're right. You know, I love Thai food, and I feel like I probably have a Thai food problem because I catch my and Chick-fil-A.
But Mexicans love Asian cuisine, like American Asian cuisine.
Dude, the thing is about Thai food is like, dude, like if I can eat Thai food every day, I would, and I could. And there's this vegan place by my house where I'm just like, this is the spot.
Oh shit.
So, and then the other worst
Those
part
damn
is like,
GMOs,
dude. And the other worst part is like they just finished building a Chick-fil-A right down my street. So
Oh,
I'm eating Chick-fil-A like every day,
and everybody's friendly to you.
yeah, dude, and like they know me now, so they throw in an extra cookie, like extra fries, and of course I'm gonna eat it. Like, who says no to
Yeah,
food? We're
man.
Latino, bro. We're gonna eat. We're gonna eat, bro.
And one thing in Latino culture is we always say yes. When someone offers you food, you say yes because next time they might not offer you.
The thing is like you need to say yes because saying no is like, oh, you're not gonna eat my food, then you know.
Cool.
Yeah,
I got you. No
Yeah.
problem. Next time,
yeah.
don't even mention you.
So every time my friends would come over my house, I would tell my friends like, if my mom offers you food, say yes.
Yeah.
Like you need to say yes. And
Yeah.
these were like white boys because I lived in Palos Verdes for a couple of years.
Really?
I went to high school there. I
Oh, it's a
graduated
nice
high school
area.
there. It's a really nice area.
I have friends from there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I lived there for 5 years. So there was these white kids that were like, hey, bro, take us over your house. I'm like, I don't know if you're ready, man. Like this, my mom, like you're going to hear her yelling. You think like the house is burning down, but that's just us. Like, bring me over. My friends come over. My mom just finished making chile rellenos, bro.
Oh man,
Chile
fresh chile
relleno.
relleno. But did she make the sauce and everything?
Everything,
God,
bro.
that sounds so
Chile
good right now.
rellenos, bro. Chile rellenos con arroz anaranjado, con tomate, salsa de tomate. So it was the best thing.
That's
for
real
me,
rice,
That
man.
was good. That was good. And my friend's like, my mom's like, oh, do you friends want to eat? And my mom was like, are you guys hungry? Food? Like in a broken English. And my friend's like, yeah, we'll eat. Dude, these white boys ate like 5 chile rellenos each, man.
I believe it.
And to this day, like 10 years after we graduated in 2010, they're like, bro, your mom's chile rellenos, I've never had anything better than that. And I'm like, hey, man, I told you guys. So yeah, like Latino culture, like you need to eat whatever it's, because when mom cooks, bro, it's the best food ever.
And you gotta eat.
And you gotta eat. When grandma cooks,
She's
bro,
slaving over the kitchen, and you're gonna say no?
Yeah,
Come
like
on.
even today, like before I left, my mom was like, "Hey, I made breakfast," and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna eat before I come record this podcast, dude." It was like the best breakfast ever, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, and now
I'm
you're
glad.
chill,
Yeah.
until the next, whatever.
Yeah, and my mom doesn't cook all the time because we're all grown kids now. She only cooks when my dad is home or he doesn't have to go to do business work or anything like that. So my mom was like, "Hey," my dad's like, "Hey, can you make me food?" And my mom's like, "Yeah." So she makes enough for everybody to get some. If you don't get some, then you're screwed because my mom doesn't cook all the time anymore. So I had a bomb dank like Mexican Guatemalan breakfast, dude. So
That sounds really fucking
it,
good
it
right
was
now,
some
man.
plátanos fritos con frijoles negros, some huevos estrellados con
Yeah.
salsa de tomate on top, bro.
Man, I had Cheesecake Factory yesterday, and I traded it for that.
Dude, like people don't understand. Like,
I would trade it. I was like, yo, cheesecake, what?
yeah, Latin culture food. When I did a gig, I did a weekend gig in Peru. Like, bro, that food was amazing.
Really? That sounds
dude,
really good.
It was amazing. I love Peruvian food, but when you go to Peru, like, it's a whole different world, dude. Their
I've never
cuisine-
had real Peruvian food.
Dude, it's a different cuisine, dude. It's a different world. It's so good.
Well, I know they use different, like that side, like Chile and Peru. They don't make things the way we do.
No.
You know,
Up the northern part of the
yeah, like
Americas.
they use more bread than tortillas, for example.
Yeah, they use more rice. Their carbs
More
are different.
rice,
Yeah,
way more
Their
ca-
carbs
yeah.
are different than
Yeah.
ours. Like us Latinos, is tortillas. Like
And rice and
excuse me,
beans.
Yeah, Mexican, Central America, even Central America. Once you get to South America, I think
yeah,
it
like
changes.
Guatemala and like El Salvador.
We still use tortillas a mano and stuff
yeah.
like that. You know,
yeah, or tortas or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you get to the east, like where the Germans landed after World War II,
yeah, exactly.
that's when
No,
things
you're right.
change.
Yeah, that's when they have more rice. They have more what do you call that? Like bread, like bread, like
Yeah,
kinda like
bread.
rolls, like rolls and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's more European influence. You're right about that, or more German, French.
mixing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a mixing of the two cultures. But something that we were just talking about was Fake, and I don't know if you wanted to get into our experiences with Fake and the
Yeah.
soul aesthetic, and but I mean that's actually where I met you.
Yeah, that's true.
Was Fake or Trey Nixon?
Trey Nixon.
Who
Shout
will
out.
hopefully shout out.
Shout
hopefully
out.
have him on here, but he was looking for a band. I had played with him prior, like a year prior, and he was releasing a new album, and he wanted to get a band ready for it. And that's where I met Leo, Carl, who was a drummer, Yo,
The cake.
yeah, very energetic, like got energy for days, drummer,
That kid can play.
yeah,
And he was only like 19, 20, dude.
super young Swedish dude.
Yeah.
And then Johan, who we've had on here, but I think that was everybody for the beginning. What were your experiences with that? Like how were you feeling? Because this is like, hey, because when it came to what a normal gig, I think for us would be, hey, you get the music, you learn it, you play a gig, and you get paid. But for this, it was more, oh, he has this album, and he's trying to build an actual band to tour with. There's no money, so it's just people who believe in the project, which is not common. Well, I mean, it is common when you think of creative band, but when it's not in our profession.
Yeah. So actually, I'll touch two topics talking about this because so I'll talk about pre and post. So I went through a really dramatic phase where something happened to me where that caused me to have depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Okay, so this happened in 2018, April 2018. And the thing is, like, I started recording with Fake. I think it was around that time. I laid pretty much a lot of the bass lines for the album that he's gonna release soon.
During that time, I believe I was doing a gig in China.
Yeah, I remember that. You were in China doing your thing over there. Yeah, so Trey called me because a friend that we have in common, Kieran Allen.
Oh, Kieran, the guitarist that's on the album.
Yeah. Kieran, I think he's a really good musician. Great guy, too.
Yes, very, very friendly dude.
Yeah, super cool guy. And I think he has a really particular tone, too. I like his stuff.
Yeah, he has a very, yeah.
I would
agree
big-ass
with-
spaceship as a pedal board, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So-
and I mean, which is great. Like I said, he definitely has his own unique sound. He definitely has he knows how to work stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and the most important thing that I wanted to bring up was the fact that he can write a song.
Yeah, and I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was our mutual friend. I remember I got an email once from Trey, and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for a bass player." Sends me a track. It's like, I'm willing to blah 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 blah. And I didn't know it was gonna be a paid kind of thing. So I thought it was just free. I was just kind of doing a favor for a friend. Cool. But then he realized, okay, so I'm gonna pay you this amount for recording. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, I'll take this opportunity, So I'll prepare and all this stuff. So it wasn't the money that got me locked to do the tracks, but it kind of was the fact that
The door that opened it.
that door that opened, and the fact that Trey was like, hey, I want to pay you because I seen how good you are, and I think you can really add on to this project. And I'm like, okay, great, because I think Trey has this mentality where he's like, I pay you guys because I value your skill set, I value your talent. And I'm like, I really appreciate that. You get me? Because most of the time people are like, hey, do it for free, and then you're doing so many things for free. You're like, yeah, your resume is like, I've done a billion things, but you still struggle to pay your rent. You still struggle to do this and that. So I like the fact that he believed in us and paid me and paid blah blah blah. So I started playing with him, started recording. I recorded a lot of the difficult slap parts. Like I did a lot of those things. And Blue Game Boy, which is one of the funnest songs to play live. I recorded that. It has like a bass solo. I remember like Anthony was the producer of the album. He really pushed me to like do crazy bass
and
things.
Anthony has credentials in doing commercials for TV shows, just working on TV shows, right?
Yeah, TV shows. He's done writing for like some other artists and stuff like that. Like he's pretty.
Yeah,
known.
he's established.
Yeah, he's pretty. Actually, he's a really cool guy. You look at him.
Really nice guy.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
He has a lot of energy when he first comes at you, but he's just a sweet dude.
Yeah, he's the coolest guy ever. Honestly, I'm glad he was the way he was when we were recording, because I feel like when he becomes producer mode, he becomes more like, hey, think of the art, think of the story that you're playing and doing this. So he really pushed me to write or to play these really eloquent bass parts, which Fake, one of the reasons why Trey, we call him, well, he used to go as Fake. I think he wants to be called Trey now. But
Yeah.
I just don't call him Fake because that's how I
Same.
met him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm sorry, Trey, if you're listening. But Trey, the reason why he got me to do the bass tracks was because he knew I can slap. And he's like, dude, I need like a really good slapper. Can you? And I was like, bro, I can.
And you slapped him across the face.
Yeah,
Like, how's that?
and I went like pop, pop, pop
He's
in
like,
the
"That's
face.
just what I need.
And
Put
he's
that on the
like-
track."
He's like, put it on the track. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why he got me. But Anthony pushed me even more. And the thing is, like, I grew up listening to Victor Wooten. Like he's one of my favorite bass players. And
For
he's
those
like,
listening, if you're a bass player,
You know
don't
who
even
he is,
you know
yeah.
he is the guy.
yeah, Victor Wooten is like the daddy of slap. All right, let's put it like that.
Daddy of bass now.
Daddy of bass. Even though I forgot the name of the guy who created slap, but let's be honest, Victor Wooten perfected the slap technique.
Yeah.
100 times.
Yeah.
And then Marcus
He's
Miller,
the Eddie Van Halen
Yeah, exactly.
of bass.
Yeah,
As how I would describe him. And even then, it's like, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Victor Wooten can play all those guitar parts while slapping over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just
and
stupid
playing
good.
the drums.
Yeah, and he's stupid. Dude, just
Oh, like-
Victor Wooten he was insane. And then Marcus Miller was another guy I grew up listening to. So I would always practice their techniques. And back then there wasn't really much YouTube, so
And Marcus Miller played with Miles Davis.
Miles
And, I mean, he has
Davis,
his own project. Checked out his music.
Luther
He's
Vandross.
amazing.
He played with a lot of people at a young age. He was like 18,
Yeah.
19. Like he was good at that age where they were calling him. And yeah, Miles Davis was like, hey, I need you to play in my band. And Marcus Miller did. And he did amazing. And then he became another slap icon in my life. Point being was that I told Trey, he's like, dude, let's do it. So they pushed me a lot to play all these slap parts, which I think slap is a dying language.
Really?
In the bass. Yeah. I don't hear much slap anymore.
You know why? Here's what I've noticed. What happened to guitar in the 80s happened to drums in the 2000s. Okay, and what happened to drums, which is like it became all about shred chops, and now the same thing with like people like Thundercat, Robert Bubby Lewis. You are having the same effect going on to bass. But
Okay.
what's funny that I've noticed in the industry right now is bass was going away in the 2010s. Bass was going away and being replaced by key bass,
Like synth bass, all that stuff.
and that's when the drum chops is coming out a lot. But what I notice right now, what's going on is drums are being downsized to just a drum pad, and bass is coming back.
Yeah, no,
that's something I've noticed. And you as a bass player, and something I'd love to hear from you if you've noticed.
If Dua Lipa just dropped her newest album, and that thing is bass heavy.
Oh yeah. What's that one song that she has that's pretty dope? The popular one.
You don't know, or yeah, I know what song. You guys
Don't
know what
Stop
song.
Me Now?
Don't Stop Me Now, or the
Yeah, Don't Stop Me Now. Yeah, it's Don't Stop Me Now. Don't play it on here because
No,
okay.
yeah, I'm just gonna look up for the name because it's gonna bother me. Yeah, I don't want you to get copyrighted.
yeah.
I know, but yeah. So Maddie, that's the name of her bass player. He literally brought like that funk bass back in that whole album, and I think that guy did an amazing job. And the thing is, like, he's playing synth bass and actual bass when he plays live. So he's playing the bass line, and then on some parts he goes to key bass, and I'm like, dude,
It's a different tone.
yeah. And I'm just like, damn, that is freaking nasty. The song is "Don't Start Now." Yeah.
Don't start
Don't
now.
start
yeah.
now, yeah. So you guys know which one I'm talking about. So I did notice that bass is coming back again. But the thing is, like, bass is much more like you. The thing is, like, to play that clean and that good, you need to be good.
Oh yeah.
You just can't be like, oh, I play guitar, let me play bass on this track. It's like, no, I think people now are looking for good bass players. good bass players that can play the pocket.
Which is hard to find.
Yeah, honestly, it is hard to find. Even me, like people tell me, like, dude, you're so good. But even me, sometimes I'm like, okay, hear me play first, and then you can be the judge for that, because I don't like labeling myself as the good or the greatest. Just hear me play, and then you can make your choice. Because a lot of people's like, hey, can you come record this track? It's like, okay, but have you heard me play? It's like, no. It's like, okay, well, let me check out this video.
Because your flavor might not fit the track.
Yeah, exactly.
Or because the thing is, you want to play for the song.
Yeah, and I'm a very honorable person. It's like if I'm gonna play track on your bass, I want to make sure you're happy with what I'm giving you. I don't want you to come in, give me a certain amount of money, and you're not happy. Like I don't think that's cool, because that goes around in Hollywood, in the industries. Like your reputation, whatever you do goes around. It will follow you. So I just want to make sure, like, people's like, hey, Leo, he didn't fit my style, but he was a really cool guy. He said. He made me check out some songs. I noticed it wasn't the fit, but he'll probably fit you. Contact him. I'd rather have that good image, or like that
reputation.
Yeah, the honorable reputation than being somebody like, yeah, I can do it. Sucks, doesn't fit, takes the check and walks away. It's like, man, it's not all about money. That's the thing about me. It's not all about money. It's not.
Mm-hmm. But so what were we talking about right before that when it came to
how we our experience.
Experience with Fake, because we
Fake.
kind of took a beeline. But
Yeah,
going
yeah.
back to Fake, and just so now you recorded the album with him. You recorded most of the bass, if not all.
Yeah, most of the bass, most of the hard. Which that album was very funk driven, like very funk, like poppy.
And it still hasn't released.
No,
I don't know why I haven't talked to him.
I think so. What I know, this is me.
I have my speculations as well.
For what he has told me the last time I saw him, which wasn't that long ago, he said that he kind of took a different route with the album. So a lot of the songs that were going to be released are not going to be released until a certain amount of time. And he kind of like re-imaged the whole product he kind of sold us. Because I remember, so one thing is that Fake was like, hey, I want this to be the new kind of Princey live, like no tracks, no nothing. Everybody plays their instrument. Everybody plays their part. But I feel like now he kind of took a whole different route, because I think the pandemic, COVID kind of made him think things through as well, which is totally fine. I don't blame him.
Yeah,
so he
made everybody.
Yeah, so he made new songs for the album. He took a lot of the songs from the album he was going to release and put them in this new kind of image brand and stuff like that. So that's what he told me. Now, I don't know what song made the final cut. He recently sent me some of the mastered songs that I played bass on, where I was like, oh, this sounds way different than from the first cut we heard. Because remember, he sent us the whole album and we heard it to rehearse and all that stuff. And it sounds different. It sounds pretty good. And if anything, it sounds more cleaner. I like
good.
that. Because let's be honest, I think sometimes we want to put so much layers on a song. And I believe less is more. That's just me. I love that. I love the whole Thriller.
Because that's with one of our songs. I'll just BSC, just without naming the song.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. BSC, for example, is one of those songs where there's just like, this would be great live, but
track-wise,
it's not.
It was a lot. Yeah,
there's too much going on.
Even me as a bass player, I have really eloquent bass parts in that song, which I love playing, because as a bass player, I would love to play slap all the time, especially that's somebody that knows how to do it. But yeah, I felt some points like, wow, this is pretty heavy. A lot of stuff, a lot of guitar parts, a lot of bass, a lot of drums and stuff like that. But then I think that song, he watered it down, and it sounds a lot better now, in my opinion. You know, and I was like, wow, that's great. But anyways, so what happened was that I recorded the tracks, everything. Then coming 2019, Fake was like, hey, I want to start rehearsing now, because I want to drop the album like in the summertime of 2019, and I want to have a band ready to tour. It's like, are you in? I was like, dude, count me in, because I did the bass parts. And I kind of made a joke, a little snarky joke, like, hey, bro, like nobody else can play those bass parts but me. But I was just being funny. But in reality, those were some really good bass parts. But I'm pretty sure anybody else can play them. There's probably a 15-year-old kid in China that can play those bass parts better than me, because kids nowadays are so resourceful now. Back then, I don't know about you, but YouTube wasn't the biggest thing back then. I had to literally...
my generation was like right when I hit the golden age of YouTube, you know?
Oh, dude. No, I had to go to the library. I had to go to Guitar Center, look at somebody play bass and be like, hey, teach me that. You know, I was that kid. And I had to go to the
got
library.
lucky. I was right there, right when the whole thing... When people could become famous as a guitarist on YouTube.
Dude, that's great, because I remember YouTube got big when I was already like...
But we're only 2 years different. That's the funny part.
Well, and that 2-year difference kind of made a difference in what social media was. Like, or YouTube. Like, because what? Yeah.
YouTube 2005, 2006. And for me, it's like 2005, 2006. I'm 12 years old.
Yeah, 2006 when I graduated middle school.
Yeah.
So YouTube didn't really become big until like 2009. I remember that's when I used to watch.
I was a
the
freshman.
stuff. And at that time, I was already playing. I was already playing a lot of church songs. I was playing in church, so I was learning from all my music directors. You get me? And the fact that my dad would send me to Guatemala to study music at these really big conservatories because he had connections there because he's from Guatemala, and we knew a really big gospel artist there by the name of Julio Melgar, which. Check out his music, really cool. He just passed away, but
Oh, sorry to hear that.
yeah, he was like my first musical mentor, and his musicians were my teachers. So the thing is, like, I would learn at the conservatories I would teach at, and then I would tour with them on the weekends. So I was touring all over Guate, Salvador, Honduras, and stuff like that. And I thought it was really awesome, and that kind of gave me that experience of touring at a young age. And it was more of a healthy aspect because there wasn't drugs or alcohol, how things are now. But I love that, and that kind of got me to like, oh, bass, 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 bass. But I didn't have YouTube, so I had to learn by being there in the room. Teach me that. How do you play that? What is that called? Blah blah blah. Even if it's just piano things, like, hey, what is that piano chord called? Stuff like that. And I was just a bass player.
But the thing is, you had that inquisitive mind to even ask and continue.
I mean, you guys heard earlier, I would question everything in church. I would question the teachers and all my Sunday school teachers. So yeah, pretty much Fake was like, can you want to tour? And blah, blah, blah. I was like, sure. You want to rehearse? Yeah. So the thing is, like I was saying earlier, I got robbed in front of my house at gunpoint. They beat me up. They stole my bass.
Do you want to go into that story a little bit?
Yeah.
Because
that would explain a lot why I stuck around with Fake and why I was so involved because in April of 2018, I was robbed at gunpoint in front of my house.
Want to give some backstory why everything happened?
So what happened was that, there's so much stuff that happened, church drama and church politics.
So this was a church member then?
We don't know. I didn't make this assumption, but everybody and their mom swear that it was this one person. So I'm of course I'm not going to name drop, but I'm going to explain everything
from your perspective.
Yeah,
from your perspective.
From what my intuition, my knowledge and everything was that there was this guy that came to my church, helped him out. He was going through a lot. I was trying to be the good Samaritan, good Christian kid. Like, let me help you out. Bring him in the church. Gave him a job as an MD. He was doing good. What happened was that he just started doing very sketchy things to the point where I told him, I was like, hey, dude, whatever you do, if you're gonna do this crap, just don't bring it in my church.
Do you mind bringing what kind of sketchy things?
So I told him, if you're gonna be banging girls and whatnot, don't bang none of the girls in church. If you're gonna be doing drugs or alcohol, I don't want to know about it. Like, I expect you to be an example. I don't care what you do outside of church, but be an example here. So I told him, bro, don't do none of these things. Like, oh, bro, I would never do that. I would never.
It's like coming to a job and, hey, just be professional.
Yeah, exactly. And many some people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't bring those people in church. Like, you know what? I understand. I do understand. But at the same time, I have to give him a second chance. Like we have to be a good Samaritan, good example. So he was like, bro, I would never do that to you, blah, 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 blah. Cool, whatever. So it turns out that a year later, this girl comes up to me. He's like, hey, this guy did this to me. And then another girl came to me. He's like, hey, this guy, the same guy did this to me. So I was finding out that he was literally taking some of these girls, flirting and then just sleeps with them and takes advantage and stuff like that. So I found out. And then I tell him, I was like, hey, bro, what the F, bro? And he's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I was like, no, like, we had an agreement. You were not going to do this. It's like, I will never do it again, whatever. And then a couple of months after, this was already March of 2018, I found out that he was like not only doing this in my church, but he was doing this with a lot of girls in Hollywood. He's like, yeah, I'll produce your song. Takes him in the room and kind of like a porn video, like casting couch.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, dude. And then he'll come in and then he'll just do his thing. He would just talk him out and then like get him drunk or give him something and then he'll just do that. So once I found that out, I was like, bro, I don't like this.
Yeah, you want to distance yourself from that.
And I told him, I was like, dude, like, I'm cutting you off. You're done. And he's like, okay, bro, we can talk about it. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. It's like, I would hit you up. I remember the last thing I told him was like, hey, dude. Yeah. Whenever I feel ready to talk, I'm gonna look for you. And it's been 2 years, and I have not.
Have you seen Ozark?
Yeah.
You know that line, like, it's not the first time you've done it, it's just the first time you've been caught.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's the thing. Like, he got caught once, twice, 3 times. And the thing is, like, yeah, exactly. I caught him, and it hurt me so much because, like, I thought this guy was going to be my bro until we died because we talked about everything together. We were doing so many projects together, too. Like, I got him a job.
You became very close, and you helped him.
Yeah, I helped them. And not only that, like, he had just gone out of jail for XX reason, which I won't say because I don't believe in degrading, like, as much as he did me dirty, I don't believe in me doing him dirty. But he did X reason, blah, 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 cool. And I was helping him out. But I fired him. He left. And I told him, I was like, bro, let me, I will contact you whenever I feel ready to talk. It's been 2 years. I feel like I've forgiven him. I forgave him. I feel like I moved on, and I hope he has moved on too, and whatever. But so this happened late March. So April 17th, 2018. I was getting home from I think a gig. I don't remember. I remember I parked in front of the house. I'm grabbing my bass. Normally I always park the car inside the house, but somehow that day, April 17th, I was like, let me park in front of my house because tomorrow morning I have to wake up early and I don't want to open the gate and wake up my parents early in the morning. I parked my car, and then right when I'm walking out with my bass, crossing the street, literally this was like 20 yards from the front door. It was so close. This car just pulls up. 3 guys come out. One has a gun. One is yelling at me. He's like, "Hey, give me your shit. I'm gonna fuck you up." Blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, I'm shocked, dude. I'm just like, what the hell is going on? I thought they were friends pulling a joke, but then I realized like, oh, these kids are
serious.
Yeah, this is serious. So I'm somebody when it comes to fight or flight, I fight. Like I can't run away from like confrontation. Like if it's like something serious, I want to fight. So it took everything in me not to fight or throw the first punch. So this guy's like, give me your shit, give me your shit. And I'm like, no. It's like, give me your shit. And I'm just like, oh, I want to fight. But this kid has a gun. It could be real. It could be not real. But I think the most smartest thing to do is like, I waited for the most time until maybe a neighbor would notice. But my street's a very quiet street. So honestly, at like 9, 10 p.m.,
You don't see anyone.
you don't see anybody in the street. It's a very nice, it's a very clean, nice neighborhood. So this is very uncommon. Give me your shit, give me your shit. And I'm like, nope. And then all of a sudden, I just remember just hearing a loud plock, and the guy hit me in the back of the head with the gun, right? And then he clocks it, puts it in my face, and I take my bass, gave it to him. I just threw it, and I threw everything on the ground. The only thing I didn't throw on the ground, I threw on the ground, but I threw it elsewhere. It was my phone and my watch. I threw it somewhere else. Because I was like, I'm going to need a call for help. Oh, and my keys, I think I threw somewhere else. And I gave him everything. It's like, where's your phone? It's like, it's in the backpack. So my backpack had computers. It had my cameras, my expensive camera. It had like expensive gear that I was using for gigs. My bass is a custom bass that I have that is a very expensive bass. So they took everything. And that was the point where like my life changed forever. And everybody is like, hey, I tell him the story like, hey, was it that one guy that you fired from church? You think he did it? Because he's capable of doing something like that. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I had to accept the fact that maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. So I can have just peace in my heart. And that
Just forgive him.
Yeah, just forgive him. So that event, April 17, 2018, really didn't affect me much until maybe like the end of 2018. I was being so paranoid. I was so anxious. I hit depression. I was having flashbacks. I wouldn't sleep. I would sleep too much. I would sleep too little. I would eat. I would not eat at all. So in January of 2019 is when Trey was like, hey, I want to do this project. And I remember I told Trey, he's like, look, dude, I would love to do this, but like mentally, I'm fucked up, bro. Like I'm not okay. Like, can we cuss?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like I'm fucked up, dude. I'm not okay. And he's like, look, man, I know what happened because I told him what happened. It's like I will like whatever you want to do, I respect it, bro. It's like let me know what you need. What do you need help in? And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So I actually documented this whole project because remember I would bring my cameras, my GoPro. So I have everything from January until maybe like the last time we all did a big thing together. I forgot. Was it February when we played the last show with him? I don't remember. We played at the
last show we played with him?
Yeah, when was it? It was here in NoHo. The Satellite, was it? No,
the last one we did was the Study. Oh no! Sorry, the Federal.
The Federal.
The Federal was,
yeah.
and that was like November.
Oh, yeah, so it was November, right? Yeah, so I was still 2019. So point being was that I documented everything. So I would love to release this documentary. I once edited it and I just didn't really release it, and I think I lost the master copy of this documentary. But maybe I'll do it. We'll see. I'll talk to everybody, see if I can get their signatures to release forms. But I remember, like, I was really messed up January, and then February. I think February was the lowest time.
2020?
Yeah, 2019. 2019 was like the mental health like debunkle. So February comes around. And like that's when I hit an all-time low, and I was like, Trey, look, dude, I don't know if I can make it, bro. Like I don't feel good. It's like I'm not okay. He's like, what's up? It's like, bro, I'm not okay. It's like I need help. I'm gonna fucking fall apart. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I have PTSD. What happened? And it's like, bro, like whatever you need. But I stuck through it. Like I was like the only thing that kind of kept me like okay was these rehearsals we would do because we started doing like 2 rehearsals a week. We were rehearsing. You know, we got a drummer. You came in a little bit after.
I came in later.
Yeah, you came in a little bit after.
There was a different guitarist.
Yeah, I remember. I think you came in like a month after. Like was it like February?
Yeah,
March?
well, because you guys were rehearsing, and I went to a show at Lucky Strike. And Trey was rehearsing at MI with you guys, and I told Trey, like, he was like, oh, I'm in the neighborhood at MI. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Like, come to Lucky Strike. Come say what's up. And that's when he said, hey, man, I want another guitar player, and he told me the whole plan, and I was like, okay, like I'm down to check it out. And then I went. The next week or something like that.
The thing is, like, the plan was actually really cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I thought it was really cool. I still think it was cool, but things change. So, you were also commuting from far as hell.
Yeah, I was living in Bakersfield at the time.
Yeah,
I was doing gig because like I moved back February 2019. I was living in Bakersfield until February 2020 when I moved back to LA to Reseda.
So you were commuting this whole time from Bakersfield.
Yeah,
that was the drive.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until.
Oh yeah,
he didn't. I don't think nobody really knew until like months.
Because I didn't talk about it. I was just
and you just show up. You'll be there on time. We'll be chilling. All right, let's go home. And then one day I think we're like, where the hell is Daniel? I was like, this fucker's coming late. And then Trey's like, I'm just joking. I didn't say that, but we're just like, where is he?
Yeah.
And then Trey was like, this kid is coming from Bakersfield, and we're just like, what? Bakersfield? Bro, like there's nothing
I think there was
there.
Traffic that day.
Yeah, or like I think a freeway was closed because they were doing some kind of construction. Or something like
something
that.
was going down.
Yeah.
I know that.
And I was like, damn, dude. I remember ever since then, like we just saw Daniel on a whole different line. We're like, damn, this kid is committed. Yeah, not that you weren't, but I was like, wow, that takes commitment. So
no, there were days where I was like,
do I want to do it? Should I go?
I mean, that playing with Trey was like fun, but also very depressing for me.
Because it was going nowhere?
It was, if that's exactly, it felt like it was going nowhere. They were going dead ends. And I think a lot of it had to do with, this was Trey's first endeavor as like doing his own thing. And it's like, hey, we're practicing 2 times a week, but there's no results. And the rehearsals were not done in a professional manner. It all was like, and you know, it rubbed me the wrong way. I remember like being like 2 months in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just gotta make sure everybody's like 100% in." I'm like, "We've been all practicing 2 times a week. We have these songs, and you're still you can't see what's going on, you know." And that was very frustrating for me. And that we did have band meetings to address these things. And as we saw, there were people, because the band was very huge in the beginning, and obviously people were dropping
15, 16.
Yeah, we had background singers, everything, and people were dropping off like flies, slowly but surely.
So where the point was that I really never noticed these things. So I was dealing with like fucking depression. You know,
you had your own, and we talked about this. We were both going through depression at the time.
Yeah, so I was dealing my own problems. So the fact that I was just not home with my own thoughts, I was happy. You know, I just wanted to be away from home. I just didn't want to be alone. You get me? Like the more I was with people, the better. The more time I spent with people, the better. So I really didn't see anything. I'm happy because that kind of helped me want to go get help too, because I remember there was a Thursday rehearsal that we did, and I literally went home to my parents and I opened up and I was like, hey guys, I'm not okay. And I was like, I need help. And then like we cried, and I was just like, I was a mess. The next day I came to work, and then that week after, my girlfriend at the time, my ex-girlfriend, she's like, let's take you to an ER because you're not okay. Because I was about to kill myself too.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's like, you're not okay. And I was like, I think I'm not okay. So we went to the ER, and then that's when the uphill battle started. It wasn't a downhill battle anymore. It was more an uphill battle because I was fighting against anxiety, depression. I had to work. I had gigs. I had contracts. I had projects. I had so many things I had to do. And I still had to deal with my own problems. But the thing is, I don't know how I did it. Maybe, you know, I give the glory to God. That's me. But like, if it wasn't for me having that faith, I probably would have given up a long time ago. Because I did not give up on any of the projects I did. And thank God, I still have a lot. Those same projects that I give up are the projects that make me money right now, passively.
Right.
During this COVID quarantine. So I'm kind of glad I didn't do that, but it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like ever.
Yeah.
So I didn't see a lot of these things. And I'm pretty sure if we would talk to Trey right now and we'll be like, will you change a lot of these things? I'm pretty sure he'll agree. Like, yeah, I should have taken a different route.
Right.
You know, because it was his first thing.
This was his first line.
So he was maybe he was overthinking it. Maybe he wanted to take it like the professional route. But
yeah, one thing for me, it felt like, this is like, this album's God's gift to music. And I'm like, bro, just to release it so this band that we have can make some more music. Let's do something. And let's gig, because we weren't gigging, because I know we had, without naming anybody, one band member was extremely frustrated with rehearsals, just leaving. You know, just leaving. And I'm like, hey, I get it at the same time. Like, I wasn't ever mad when he left or anything, but I know like Trey was feeling a certain type of way about it. And I'm like, well, bro, it's like these rehearsals aren't productive. Like you like, he has never been a part of anything that we have, so he has no perspective.
So I can agree with that. He was a good friend. I mean, I'm the one that brought him into the band. I got him the audition for that band member. Yeah, I remember. And like things like me and him did other projects elsewhere, and I think me and him have a really good chemistry when it comes to playing. Me playing bass, him playing whatever instrument. point being was that he was frustrated. He was frustrated, and he's like, "Hey, I think I'm done." And I was like, "Look, talk to Trey and just go from there. But I have nothing against you. If you want to walk out and do your thing, that's okay. You know, but I've always learned, like, if you want to exit some kind of project or some kind of situation, is always to do it in a very respectful way. And even though, like, a breakup is not easy, but at least you did it honorably. Like, hey, thank you for everything, but I'm going to dip out now. Like, I think, like,
100%,
you know, it's not going nowhere. I'm sorry. Like, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm just going to pursue other things. And I think that's what happened, and that's cool, you know? But yeah, I remember. I wasn't frustrated, but at the same time, I was more like, hey, let's play. Like, I don't care if we F up. Like fuck ups are gonna happen no matter what. Like, that's the thing about live. Like, you can practice so much.
That's the whole point, to practice what you're doing, put it in effect.
And once you play it live, like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It will happen. It will continue to happen. Like, you hear, and the thing is, like, even like these professional, like, DVDs, like, artists release, there's mess ups, and they just go back to the studio. They just re-record some of those little parts and they just put them in the DVD in the final product. So F ups happen no matter what. So I was like more like, hey, let's play. And the thing is, like,
I think we all were, because I was starting to get really, because we were practicing for like 2 months straight with no avail, and certain members were being kicked out because they couldn't keep up or perform certain areas, or some people were just not down with it. And, like, you know, we did music videos.
I just, people got burnt out and they were just not rehearsing to their full potential. You know what I mean? Because that happens to me too with, like, some church rehearsals. I'm like, guys, we're
doing two
rehearsals a week
for free.
And the thing is, like, I was doing every like, I was rehearsing with other people.
And you were the one booking, because we were rehearsing for your name, because you were a TA,
so
teacher assistant.
So I had to book these things, and the thing is, like, I was also rehearsing with other bands, other projects, big projects and stuff like that. So I don't mind putting my time, but I was like, come on, dude, like, I want to see some live gigs. So that's kind of what happened. Yeah, and that's pretty much what happened. And then we started doing some gigs.
We played maybe 3 gigs total. 4 gigs. One in Hollywood.
Oh, we did
one by, like, Silver Lake.
We did one in Culver City.
One in Culver City.
Yeah, it was like Culver City. Was that the first one?
Yeah, Culver City, I believe, was the first one, because Johan got it for us.
Yeah.
And then the last one was the Federal.
Federal, yeah.
So that was 4. We did 4 gigs.
You played
together.
all those gigs, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was there. And yeah, and then I think at the last gig, the last 2 gigs,
we had a different drummer.
Yeah, we had a different drummer.
Same with music video. The first music video, we had one drummer, and then the second one we had
drummer.
Different.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But I honestly, like, I give credit to Trey, because he had this big vision, but it just didn't work out. You know what I mean? Like,
the execution was just not there. And, you know, like, I put my own resources into him, you know, to help out where I could, and it's just like, not like, I don't expect anything back from him. I'm like, yo, I put this in knowing that I might not get anything back. But the fact that it didn't go anywhere with more gigs or anything like that, it was just like, you know, a wet fart in a way, or I don't know. What's the best way to put it?
It's just like you're like, hey, I want to see more results. You know, I want to do this.
And it's not even big results that you're asking for.
And like, look, dude, like I said, like me, like we were like, I was going through something, so I was grateful. And I'm not even saying you're not grateful. If anything, we're all, like, grateful, because we all met each other because of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we all did different things. I was pushed as a musician, but I do know that and I think I spoke to it with Trey. I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure you would do things differently. And he's like, yeah. The thing is, like, Trey had a vision, but maybe it was, like, too much for him. He didn't realize how big it was, and then maybe it just kind of, like, had little faults in it. The thing is, like, you learn as you go, and he learned a lot. I'm pretty sure Trey is a different Trey now than he is now.
100%.
And if he would relaunch this new album, he'll probably take a different route. He'll be more mature. Not that he was immature, but you gain maturity through experiences like this. So I feel like he will be so much more mature, more wise. He'll do things differently, and I'm okay with that. And if he calls me to play, I'll do it. You know, I'll be like, yeah dude, I'll do this.
That same insecurity that I saw with us, you know, like, trying to do live show, it's like, hey, we need to fuck up, as you were saying, is the same insecurity I see with him wanting to release the album. Because I'm like, man, you could have released 3 albums, and this, like, the 4th one could have been the one, you know? Because there's so many bands that have names before they were the big band where they released stuff, or, you know, so many changes.
I know I've listened to his other stuff. I feel like this stuff that we worked on is probably his best stuff.
I agree, but I'm saying he could have released this.
Oh yeah, and other
had
stuff.
Something even better.
And he showed me new music, and I'm like, dude, this sounds really killer too. And, like, some really dope bass parts where he's like, hey, I want you to play bass here, and I always hear him. I was like, dude, it's awesome. But you're right. Hey man, like I said, COVID. I think one of the reasons why he didn't drop it this year, he was gonna drop it was because of COVID, and I respect that. I understand that. Like,
yeah, very understandable.
we were nobody expected COVID to be this big. Nobody thought 2020 was gonna be like the year of COVID. Nobody thought about that. So. Yeah, many plans. Maybe he did have a plan to drop an album this year, and then another one next year. Who knows? But I'm so ready. If he calls me to be like, hey, dude, you want to play bass? I'm down to do it. I'm down to do it because I already have that chemistry with him. I have that chemistry. I don't know who the new band will be, but I'll be down to do it.
I'm in the same boat. If he was like, do you want to do it? I'd be like, yes, but let's make sure we don't commit the same mistakes, because it's like I'm not gonna run into the same cliff. You know,
I agree with you on that one. Yeah. I totally agree, and that's just.
I feel, I understand that you're saying you feel the same way, and I wouldn't even question that just from this conversation that we're having. I'm like, I think everybody in the band would be like, yeah, we need to do things differently if we were to do it again.
Yeah, and people who are listening, listen, like the funny thing is like this is not just a one thing that happened with Trey. This happens in many bands. Like this stuff happens.
Yeah,
in every band.
Every band has drama, no matter even if you just do it once. There's always drama.
Dude, like I said, Tanner's band. This guy, like he's probably one of the most. I won't say successful, but I've made so much money working with him because he just gives us really good gigs.
Great, man.
He has made errors too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he once had a really good band with really top of the line musicians of LA and Hollywood. I won't name drop, but trust me, like these are big Instagrammers now, and they were all playing with Tanner, but it just wasn't the right chemistry either. So this is why we went to like, okay, Leo, pick the band you want to play with. So I picked my boys from Brazil.
Put you as music director.
Yeah, put me as music director, and then ever since then, dude, we've been doing amazing. And the thing is, like these kids have their visa. They're gonna be here for the next 5-6 years. They're good. They make money. They're responsible and all this stuff. Not saying nobody's responsible.
Well, all that's like auxiliaries, which you need, like the visa and stuff. But it's like the most important thing is that no drama. Yeah, professional, on time. They're great kids. Easy to work with.
I work with them doing other church gigs. I work with them in other projects. Mm-hmm. The drummer and the guitar player, I played with them with this really big popping Russian artist, and like we've been playing for a long time. And I was like, hey, you guys want to make some good money? You guys want to do a new project? Like, yeah, like here, let me show you Tanner. Fell in love, dude. They played at Disneyland. They've done things because of Tanner got us that gig. So this happens anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, and you don't know what doors will open or close doing anything. You never know.
And people need to understand that it's not just a music thing. Like this happens in any kind of business. This happens in church. This happens in family businesses. This happens in music. This happens anywhere. Like there's going to be some kind of drama, disagreements, and maybe your leader is not going to be the best one yet, but
we grow from it in every experience, because exactly. Like it was something like doing overseas contracts and having so much drama and stuff. Like, I've heard like people that I was with tell me, hey man, like, after dealing with this shit you've dealt with this band, everything is pretty fucking easy.
Yo, honestly, after you deal with so much ish, dude, you're just like, this is a piece of cake.
Yeah. But, bro, on that note, man, like, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, but we've been talking for almost an hour and a half.
Damn. I don't know.
I love talking to you, bro.
The funny thing is, like, I thought, like, man, I don't know what to talk about. We're only going to talk about, like, 10 minutes and it's gonna be done, but bro, you put two Mexicans in a room, bro. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. We just need a couple of Coronas or Coors,
bro,
and we
some
good.
Coronas, some carne asada in the back.
Yeah,
bro. We could be here all day, man.
It's like, hey man, ¿qué pasó?
No, honestly, yeah. So just to finish, guys, like whatever you want to do in your life, I say pursue it. Like I know sometimes our parents teach us, not our parents, they want the best for us. And my mom and dad used to always say like, hey, get a good paying job. But sometimes the good paying job is not the job that makes you happy. So I went the other route. I was like, I'm going to do music, and I did it, and I'm making a good living. And I'm not saying it was easy. Like I didn't start seeing money until probably last year, like I worked probably 7 years, but on my 8th year of doing this, I started seeing the results. I got the endorsements, I got the car, I got the money, I got all this stuff. But my dad always says like, Leo, and something my dad learned from being a father after many years, like, Leo, you know what? I taught you wrong. He's like, don't do it for the money. Do it for the success and do it for the connections and just grow your vision. And I'm like, that's where I'm at now. So whatever you guys want to do, just do it with a vision, do it with a heart. I promise you, money will follow, success will follow, fame will follow. I always say like God doesn't give me something if I'm not mature enough to handle it. So I always try to be very wise, very subtle, try to stay quiet. Even when I'm angry, stay quiet, learn, process, and then speak after a while. So just learn that things are not easy, but things are attainable. You can reach whatever you want to reach. You can do whatever you want to do. Just stay focused, man. I went through so much. I went through depression, anxiety, PTSD, and now I'm living a really good life. And if it wasn't maybe for those incidents, I wouldn't be as strong I am now. But I'm grateful now that I went through those things because now I see things differently. So guys, don't give up. Go get some help if you're going through any mental illness. Like, there's so many resources. If not, then reach out to me, reach out to Daniel. We all have experiences there too. If you need any kind of help, you need some kind of advice musically, Daniel's he's such as a pro as I am. So if you need any help, guys, we're here. That's the thing about me and my social media. I'm always willing to help people. As long as you're willing to learn and grow and accept that advice, I'll give you free advice. I'll give you whatever you need, but as long as you have that heart to receive. But Daniel, thank you so much for having me, man.
Man, I appreciate you for coming. So my guest today has been Leo Vasquez. I appreciate you for being here, and this has been another episode of the DP Podcast. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all.
Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.